Hello everyone, good morning to you. It's a day of new beginnings for all of us after a summer when the government had U-turns, local lockdowns, travel quarantines and exam results chaos. MPs returned today to a full inbox with thousands of children heading back to school across England and Wales. The Education Secretary admits it's been a challenging few months. We'll be checking if the Schools Minister, Nick Gibb, has done all of his homework in just a moment. But first, Tom Rayner has this report.
Well, school is mandatory in this country. We believe in compulsory education. So all the fines have always been the last resort for head teachers. But it is a last resort. Can assure them that the measures are in place to keep schools safe. But any concerns that people...
The kids to school, or thinking about not sending the kids to school, what is going to happen if their kids don't go to school today? They'll get a call from the head teacher, they'll get a warning. What's going to happen?
Well, they sample households across the country to see if there has been a risk of...
But if there's a COVID case in a classroom, will you just close that classroom? Will you close their whole school? What will you do?
Well, when there's a positive...
school?
Not necessarily. It's why we have these countries that we do regard as places that people can go to and return without quarantining. But, of course,
I wouldn't risk going to
it.
Portugal at the moment, though. I wouldn't risk going at the moment, given what you're saying, and I think I probably would be right, wouldn't I?
No, not necessarily.
Apparently, so many people will want a flu jab this year that many won't be available until Christmas. That's not good enough, is it?
No, but...
Polls, are you? Labour's caught up. Eek.
Well, we are in the middle of a crisis. My focus now is getting children back into school. Come back here. It's always a pleasure.
Never a job.
You're a lovely, spanking new studio. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Back to you in just a second. Joe Pike is with us. Joe, thoughts?
We can tell Mr Gibb has been doing this job for a while, serving as Schools Minister, of course, under David Cameron, Theresa May and Boris Johnson. He knows his stuff. Avoid a strong message. You take a risk if you go abroad.
He did say that, didn't he? It's good to see you, Joe. Thanks very much indeed, Joe, with us throughout the course of the programme today. Coming up in just a few moments, we'll be joined in the studio by the Shadow Education Minister, and that's Toby Perkins, to get Labour's take on pupils returning to street vigilante, accused of a double murder during some protests in Wisconsin. Let's take you to Los Angeles, and our correspondent Sally Lockwood is standing by for us. Hello to you, Sally. Very good morning. What did the President say? Let's find out what's happening as far as the weather's concerned. Here's Naz. Good morning, Naz.
Good morning. Well, today is the
studio, a brand new programme, Monday to Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. here on Sky News. Top story for you this morning. Children in England and Wales are returning to school today, many of them for the first time since March. In the last few moments, the Schools Minister, Nick Gibb, told me that the possibility of delayed next year's exams until later in the summer was being considered. But a decision hasn't yet been made.
Decide as soon as we can.
Well, Laura Bondock is at a primary school in Leicester for us this morning. Hello to you, Laura. I also put to the Minister what would happen if parents didn't send their kids back to school. He said that they could potentially be in quite a lot of trouble. So far, do let us know if you're planning to go back to work today or send the kids to school, or if you're not as well. We can talk about that in just a moment or two. Labour calling for next year's A-level and GCSE exams to be pushed back to midsummer to help pupils cope with the impact of the pandemic. Joining us is the Shadow Education Minister, Toby Perkins. Hello to you, Mr Perkins.
Hello.
It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us in our new studio. The Education Minister was sat there just a few moments ago, and he said that they would be looking at pushing back exams.
Faced are given every possible chance to get the best results they can.
Yeah, although it's 2 summers ruined for our kids then, isn't it? Is it not easier to potentially ease up on the syllabus this year?
Well, I mean, I think...
No, do they? I was asking the Minister, what percentage he would be happy with, and he was saying that parents, it's mandatory for kids to go back to be educated, and if they don't go back to school, potentially parents are going to be in a lot of trouble. You would support that?
In what the government's doing and that their children are safe. And then there will need to be conversations between the school and parents in individual circumstances to ensure that...
Ultimately, the stick of the fine if parents don't take their kids back to school?
Ultimately, what I would say on fines is that is something that's should be there for head teachers to decide on rather than government diktat. So I wouldn't like to see a minister sat in Whitehall saying, fine these children. Ultimately...
That are being put in place. Apparently, we're being told it's costing schools something like 218 million quid in order to make their schools COVID safe in England and Wales. Should the government be picking up amounts of money available, and it's up to the schools how they spend it?
Well,
of other issues as well, implications because of COVID. Why aren't you ahead of them?
well, I mean, I think a poll. It's a Twitter. Well, I mean, you know, it's a Twitter.
Just because you don't like the results
I suppose
doesn't
you call
mean
it
it's
a
not
poll,
a poll.
but it wouldn't have any.
That we've never had here in the United Kingdom.
Well, as I say, you know, there was a on Twitter,
Serious, aren't they?
but,
Surely.
Well, as I say, I think
I noticed you were tweeting yesterday.
Yeah, well.
See us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to hear. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Stay there if you would. Be with you in just a second. Thank you. Meantime, Chinese city that was grounded for the coronavirus pandemic. The life there is getting back to normal. Our Asia correspondent Tom Cheshire has travelled back to Wuhan for us. Hello to you, Tom. What's it like there? The next few weeks, make sure you check out the Foreign Office website because you might go there, you might not be able to get back very easily. Coming up in just a few moments' time here on the programme, the call to save apprenticeships or face... Thank you. Latest government figures show 2 more people have died here in the United Kingdom within 28 days of testing positive for COVID-19. It brings the total number of deaths to 41,501 and comes as hospitals are preparing for a potential resurgence this winter. Sky News has been inside Northwick Park in northwest London, one of the country's worst hit hospitals, and the first to declare a critical incident back in March after running out of intensive care beds. Our People and Politics correspondent Nick Martin has met staff who've been doing their best to prepare for a possible second wave. Let me just ask you about you being, as former MD of John Lewis, it does look as though John Lewis Waitrose struggling at the moment, doesn't it?
So I wasn't...
This few months of John Lewis profits, not reopening some stores, a new woman in charge, Sharon White. How concerned are you, or should we be as consumers, that John Lewis potentially might go the same route as, I don't know, House of Fraser, Debenhams, Woolworths and the like? China, where the COVID-19 virus began. Today, though, marks the end of the government's Eat Out to Help Out scheme here in the UK, which provided discounted meals for the public and has proven to be a vital lifeline for the struggling hospitality industry. So, what is next for the sector? We're delighted to be joined by Michelin-starred chef Angela Hartnett, who's in West London this morning, and the co-founder of the world's first Nigerian tapas restaurant, pretty niche, Emeka Frederick, who is in Tottenham for us. Hello to you both. Good morning, good morning. Ladies first. Angela, to you first of all. You've decided to carry on with this scheme, haven't you? Why?
I think it's been really...
Did you? What would you like to see happen? What would you like to say to the Treasury in order to try and keep your business going? Just how bad is the situation in your industry at the moment?
I think certainly for both of us, I would say central.
Okay, before you had your bricks and mortar restaurant, you had pop-ups. Do you think that's the way forward? Do you think we'll see more and more pop-ups, Emeka?
I think you were already seeing them. I don't think...
From what you were saying, you feel that, you know, the Eat Out to Help Out was a good scheme, but some of the measures that have been put in place since are now penalising the very industry that they were hoping to help to start with.
Yeah, I mean, without doubt, listen, the government have done...
Good luck, fingers crossed. Perhaps we've turned the corner. Let's all hope so. Appreciate you seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. So pop-up restaurants all over the place, but also more traditional restaurants and a Nigerian tapas. What about you? Did you eat out to help out? What will you be doing now that has ended? You can tweet me directly if you would like to, at @Burley. And don't forget, you can do my job tomorrow at 9:45. If you have any questions at all about kids going back to school, we've got an expert. Ask the expert. Tweet me directly at @Burley, news@sky.com if you want to contact the team. If you've got a question to put to an expert, 9:45 tomorrow, get cracking right now. The team are ready to filter through those and we'll pose some of those tomorrow to the expert. Coming up in just a few moments' time, though, in the next hour.